So I'm here with Brian Flynn, who's on our sales team. Want to tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, so I'm the Northeast sales rep for RunSignup, and then I also have a couple states in the Midwest that I work with. So reach out to race directors, timers, race management company, nonprofits, things like that.
And when and why did you start here at RunSignup?
So I actually started 5 years ago to this day.
Really?
I did,
December 1st.
December 1st, 2018. And prior to that, I was the director of cross country and track and field at Bridgewater College, a Division III school in Virginia. Did that for about 8 years, but saw an opportunity for better living, family, and just kind of a change in my life. So actually moved to Richmond and worked in the Richmond office for Brian Jenkins, actually college teammate of mine. And the funny thing is, in 2014, I actually came up to Morristown to a sales meeting, met with Bob, and it just wasn't the right time for me, for my family. But 4 years later, it was the perfect fit, and been with the company since.
I hadn't known that about 2014.
Yeah.
So now you're with RunSignup. Do you sell just RunSignup, or do you sell TicketSignup too?
No, the nice thing I think is a lot of our sales come from current customers for tickets. So I work a lot with Jake in cross-selling events. So a lot of our customers might be nonprofits, they might have other events. So now that the brand for RunSignup is there, they're happy with RunSignup. I'm looking internally for a lot of leads that also work with tickets. And when the time comes, I'll loop Jake in and he'll help me with a demo to make sure that it's something that'll fit for them.
And what is it like to sell? Like, what's that process like?
Other than my title, I really don't feel like a salesperson, because we have such a great team behind me. We have such a great website. We have so many awesome features that I feel like I'm educating those potential leads to how we can help solve their problem. So my goal really is not to necessarily sell, but to identify problems that people have and what solutions we have that can solve those problems, and then ultimately let them make the decision if they want to move over, or when the time is right to maybe incentivize them to make that move.
Now, what kind of things do you ask a customer when you're kind of first approaching them, or when they're first approaching us and trying to figure out what the best fit is for them with RunSignup?
Right, so if I can get somebody interested, somebody on the phone, I think it's really important to have brand awareness and maybe, a large known customer in that area that already uses our ticketing software or our registration software, just to make sure they're like, oh, wow, I didn't know you worked with that event. That's really cool. Or maybe they have done an event on RunSignup and I could be like, hey, have you heard of the Richmond Marathon? And they're like, oh, yeah, I ran that in 2018. And then I ask them, do you remember how the registration process was? And they're like, oh, well, yeah, it was really easy. Actually, you used RunSignup for that, and it was so easy to sign up. That's kind of our goal for your race. We want to make it easy for your participants to sign up so you guys can be successful financially. And the big thing is I want to get them talking. So I ask them questions about their specific event, how it went, what went well, what would you like to see improve, were there any issues? And sometimes you get minimal answers, but sometimes people will really open up. They really enjoy talking about their event. So the longer I can get them on the phone, the more I learn from them, and I'm able to maybe research a little bit as they bring up certain issues or examples or use cases. And as I'm taking notes, I'll come back to that later in the conversation when it's, my time to speak, essentially.
So I imagine you're talking to several new customers a day.
Yeah, I'd say as far as like speaking with actual humans, at least 15 to 20 conversations a day, whether they're already current users that we're trying to cross-sell or promote their event a little bit more successfully, or potential new customers, or even leads that are coming to us that want to learn more about our product for their event.
And how do you keep track of like all the different people that you're keeping in touch with?
Yeah, so we use Salesforce for all of our data. So essentially I put everything into Salesforce. I'm taking notes on every conversation, and the big thing is setting up follow-up tasks for that person, and really asking, especially the leads, when is a good time to contact you back? What can we speak about when I do contact you back. So then that way I know exactly when to contact them based on their availability or their needs or their, time that they're ready to kind of have that discussion about moving over.
And if they do go from that interest to wanting to move over, what's the next steps then?
I think the big thing is showing them what we can do for them. So getting them on a demo of a very successful registration site, if that's what we're doing for them, so that they can kind of see the process as a participant, and then also showing them the back end so that they can see, what they have access to on the back end, our features and things like that. And really making sure like throughout that demo, we're hitting the issues that they had and how we can make their lives easier and solve problems. And once they see that, the goal is to get them to at least create a draft event for their race, and then when the time is right, looping in their dedicated account manager that can support them throughout the entire process.
And how does that handoff go from you to the account manager?
I think it's different every time, and it kind of depends on the client. A lot of times we'll have a meeting with myself and, either the race director or the team that's in charge of the event and the account manager, just to make sure that that initial process goes well. Sometimes if it's a larger client, we'll all be there and help them set up their first event on the Race Wizard. And then I'll kind of hand them off to the account manager through that process, or maybe if it's a smaller race, maybe just an email, but I'll make sure I educate our account manager so they know topics to focus on and kind of what the event is about that they'll be working with.
So you said you have about 20 conversations, like human over the phone conversations. Is the rest email and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'd say on a good day, I maybe get in touch with 15 to 20 people. It's a lot of voicemails and then following up with emails and things like that. If it's a customer or somebody that I've been speaking with for a while, sometimes it's easier for me to text them just because they're so busy during the day, and then they'll get back to me when it's convenient for them.
So this could possibly be the first time your customers are actually seeing you, like seeing what you look like.
A lot of them, yeah. I think, I was fortunate enough to be at 6 roadshows this year. So I met probably over 100 customers that I work with that I had never seen in person. So it's really fun to put a face to the name. And I think for them as well, hopefully if they do see this, they can see, oh, that person on the phone is a real person. Here he is. And it just kind of makes our relationship a little bit stronger.
I do like that about like the roadshows and symposiums where you get to be like, oh, I've seen your email.
Yeah. I think somebody said to me, they were like, I know that voice over there. And I had no idea who it was. And then they told me their name, and it's like, oh, I've known you for 2 years. We've probably had 35 conversations and however many emails. So
now, what do you think the greatest strength is of the sales team?
I think the greatest strength is just there's so many different people from different backgrounds, and I have so many resources to reach out to if I need assistance, whether it's a demo with Brian or Eric. They're always there, and they have such great strengths in the industry. I think Eric built his own registration system in the mid-2000s. I actually visited him at his location at Race It when Brian was working early on there, so I got to know Eric a little bit. So just having so many people that can support each other and that know so much about the industry, I think helps.
Now, do you have a favorite or a feature that you find is the most underutilized feature?
I think one of our most used features, but also like one of our most underutilized features, is because it's so large, is our ability to market across races or across events that a nonprofit might own. So the ability, if they have 3 or 4 events on our platform, whether one's a 5K, one might be a gala or something like that, they can promote across events through our email marketing and maybe use our standalone email or being able to use our standalone org sites, because those can save organizations a ton of money because they're not paying for their website anymore and they're not paying for their email any longer as well. And even if it's a small nonprofit or a small customer, they might be paying a couple $1,000s a year for their website, and really it's not getting much out of it. So the ability to save funds there, help promote the lifetime of that nonprofit or that company, because it's year over year they're saving that money.
And do you have any success stories that you want to share working at RunSignup?
Having so much experience in the industry, in the endurance world and things like that, there's certain things that I have the ability to do that other people might not have the ability to do. And I've probably run 150 plus races, since I was 18 years old. So I have vested interest at a personal level to go to races. So in 2021, I ran the One City Half Marathon. It's put on an event group called Flat Out Events. Prior to that event, they had no idea who I was. I used my Gmail to register. I think I can't remember what he was using for registration for that event. He had something that he had built, and then he had like a secondary registration platform that he used for more complicated events. Ran the half marathon, was able to secure an elite entry based on my time. Ran the race, got second. After the race, I followed up with him with my Gmail again that he had already been communication on, and asked for a call because I also worked for RunSignup. RunSignup's so prevalent in our area in Virginia that he knew what we were. He was willing to give me the time of day because of the relationship that we built throughout the race, and ended up turning into a client that does around 20 events, about 15,000 registrations a year. And I don't think he ever would have answered my email if it wasn't for my experience in his event. And now they use us for everything.
Now you're in a sales meeting at this moment, right?
Yeah, we meet about every 6 months. So in the spring, early summer, we'll meet in Richmond. And then in the winter, we always meet up here in Morristown. Currently, we're going through, I guess you would call it a training exercise, where we have teams of 2, and we're going through an event that is listed on another website and seeing who can give the biggest, or not the biggest, but give the best pitch of why would be a good fit for that event to move.
Well, thanks for sitting down and talking with us, Brian. I'll let you get back to that.
Yep, I guess I'll jump back in that. Thanks so much.